Yeah, it all depends what you want to hear. I mean, anecdotes or uh, happenings, which could be interesting to you. Uh, Possibly little situations that occurred. Uh, Thinking of one, I'm thinking of a couple of them. Uh, I don't know how risque you want to go. I mean, in one of them, which is really a cute story. I mean, uh, I'll be honest with you, it's one that basically, in my day and age, was done frequently by many people, and this could be a twist on something a little bit different if you're interested.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right. How's my hair?
It's good, don't worry.
When are you going to shoot camera?
It's shooting.
I get the makeup on and stuff like that. Is your camera rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, it goes back to possibly a year, I imagine 1939, or 1939 or 40. And a very warm, hot night, and a bunch of fellas all standing around. Kind of, we'd meet on certain corners, as they said, in the city, because nobody had cars in those days. Maybe one fella had a car. And they're sitting around not doing much, getting toward evening, when one of the fellows said that, how about going to Indiana Harbor? Well, back in those days, Indiana Harbor, for example, was quite an industrious steel working area. And being a steel working area, there was always a lot of men living in the area. And where there's a lot of men living in the area, there's always a number of taverns and saloons, and also a lot of houses of ill repute. And so basically one of the fellows said, well, let's drive out to Indiana Harbor, and some of the fellows want to go visit some of the girls. And I said, okay, we'll all pile into, my friend Millard Stone had a car at that time. So we drove out to Indiana Harbor, but back in those days there was no outer drive. And so you went down Stony Island Avenue and cut across, you got to Indiana Harbor. And by that time it's about 9 o'clock, pretty dark, pretty hot outside. And they locate the house where the girls live. And actually some of the fellows said, well, they're going upstairs. It so happens that a friend of mine, myself, by the name of Chucky Finnegan, we spotted a watermelon cart. And in those days, on a hot summer night, there were men who would have push carts that would cut open watermelons and sell them by the slice. And so Chucky looked at me and I looked at Chucky. I said, I'm not interested in going to visit any of the girls. He says, no, I'm not either. And he says, what do you say we pool our money and buy a watermelon? It's not a bad idea. Well, back in those days, to visit a girl was $2. So I said, well, I got $1. And Chucky says, I've got $1, let's buy a watermelon. Okay, we bought the watermelon and we cut it open. It'd been packed on ice somewhat. And we sat there, we ate the watermelon, him and I. And about an hour later, all the fellas came down and they said, well, why'd you guys come up? He said, no, I think we had a better time sitting and eating the watermelon. To this day, I still think we had a better time eating the watermelon than visiting any of the girls. Cute enough?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of them. That's a true story, by the way. You see, back in those days, Devin, it was kind of an understood fact that where kids take advantage of maybe other kids today. Like I read an article today in the Tribune, for example, at Notre Dame University, some of the girls have been harassed and have been actually more than harassed, and the university does not prosecute the fellows. And back in my day, for example, there was no problem. There was always enough houses of prostitution that were wide open for men who wanted to go to visit them. I mean, that was it. The cost was very reasonable. And that story I always thought was kind of stuck in my mind because it was a truism that I was never interested in that. And obviously, we felt that having a watermelon that night was much more advantageous to the warm evening than being with somebody that we didn't know and really didn't care about.